if you're going in a startup, you are on a very high performance sports bike and you're going at a very high speed. If you're in a large company, you are in a humongous truck that you're trying to steer. So how do you make your truck go 100 miles an hour? I was sitting with the CTO of a company with $98 billion revenue. And when I look at the technology stack and what they were doing, I just couldn't believe it. It was so archaic. A lot of people have this fallacy. I can hire 50 people and I'll get 50x the productivity. That's not true. A lot of investors, entrepreneurs think that raising money is the end goal. Raising money is not the end goal. If something bad happens, you can have to wash out all the previous investors. Raising humongous rounds at ginormous valuation can be a negative thing. I will go for intelligent money than dumb money. The key is that.
Let's talk about the lessons from scaling inside large organizations that you have done for a major part of your life. You have built and scaled companies as the technologist and operator before becoming deeply involved in the startup ecosystem. What experiences you had in running large corporations that you implement today when you start supporting startup ecosystem?
Just look at the data. Like in most of the large companies, with AI coming in, we feel that just run models and we feel that the data is all comprehensive, unified data, clean data that you can do everything you want. In a startup, it's different. You're building from a ground up. So you build the right architectures, you build the right methodologies. In large companies, there's always a legacy portion. Like they've been going around for like 10, 20, 30 years, for example, and everything is fragmented. So if you want to bring about change, or if you want to bring about innovation, what you need to do is you need to make sure that it's not something that's inorganic to the company, right? If you come from outside and say, I'm going to bring about innovation or if I'm going to transform, you have to build a collective understanding that why it's needed, why speed of innovation is important, why digital transformation is important, and create those support system, different functions from sales and marketing, manufacturing, R&D. Then you can make a real difference. Because think of it as like if you're going in a startup, you are on a very high performance sports bike and you're going at a very high speed. If you're in a large company, you are in a humongous truck that you're trying to steer. So there's inertia, there's other things. So I think you should be able to make sure that you can create those common understanding and you can create like a roadmap and intermediate KPIs that you can see where you are going. So it's always a different challenge when you're in a larger organization, but it's a lot more impactful because when you do something, it impacts billions of dollars and millions of customers.
So let's talk about digital transformation. It is many a times I hear this word as a buzzword. What really is digital transformation and how it can help early stage startup founders who are building a platform or a product for the digital world?
It's about making sure that every function of the company is digitally native. What I mean is that if, say, you are doing invoicing with paper, or you are doing a lot of things that are not using the modern technology from cloud to mobile technologies to now AI, what it means is that what these innovations in the last 10, 20 years have given us is the ability to scale fast, and hopefully the cost efficiencies also if you do it properly, and also to innovate fast. Because I do remember myself when one of the startups that I was part of, it was a process to have a data center room in the office and buy those servers and wire it. And now we can plug up and spin off amazing application or a whole solution with some buttons and clicks and even some Terraform scripts. You don't even have to press maybe buttons, but it's just incredible. And that's what the driver of digital innovation has to be. It doesn't have to be. It's not a buzzword. It's a must-have kind of, right? So for companies to sustain, be successful, be innovative, and be competitive, they have to have this. Otherwise, what will happen is more nimble players that move fast. So it's like you're moving at 60 miles an hour in a truck, and a bike is running at like 100 miles. That's a startup. So how do you make your truck go 100 miles an hour? That's what the digital transformation in large companies is. And what happens is it theoretically at 1,000 feet level, it looks very simple concept. Just make everything just easy. But you have to know that to bring about real transformation in a company, you have to understand the constraints of that organization. It is people constraints, it's the technology constraint. Sometimes you think really consultants come in and they say you can do these things. and you say the database is running Oracle version from 1984, for example, right? And or something like that, like really archaic things are running, or we have 5 different schemas across 6 different business functions. So these are the reality on the ground, because these organizations evolve over time. Technology is innovating and they are doing their business and making money. So now they're trying to catch up, most of these organizations that are like larger ones that I was referring to. So what happens is the real successful digital transformation happens when the need of digital transformation is understood by the CEO, by all the senior executive across all functions, and they all believe in it and they become a partner in this, right? Then the hard part comes in, that you have to kind of modernize a lot of things in some cases. In my case, I spent 5 years doing that, right? So, but at the end, when you can show that you're moving faster, means innovating faster, growing higher margins of profitability, and being able to compete against your threat that are the competitors and others, then it means that you have achieved your goal. So I will say that it's a really fascinating topic. But the real essence of that would be when you really go inside an organization and customize it to that organization and then bring it about, rather than high level concepts. So I think that's kind of been fascinating. And a little bit about the earlier part in Global Logic, that was a eye opener for me. Like, I was sitting with the CTO of a company with like $98 billion revenue. And when I look at the technology stack and what they were doing, I just couldn't believe it. It was so archaic, right? And so for them, from there to take it to the point in 3 years, that was a journey. And what happened is there's resistance also. Like in any place you bring about a change, there's resistance, and that's a human angle, right? So how do you manage that in a very delicate fashion? People might have to learn new technologies. They have to do things differently that they have not been doing for the last 10 years, and there's resistance about that. So there's a whole comprehensive, holistic approach. And I can talk for hours on this.
Moving from your corporate leadership roles to starting or becoming part of a startup, how did that transition happen? That is also a transformation. Somebody who is used to work for a multi-billion-dollar company, that too in senior technology roles, the whole infrastructure is there to support your effort. From there, coming out and getting into a startup where you wear so many hats, from the janitor to the sales guy to the technologist to the builder to the fundraiser. So how did that transformation work, and what lessons did you learn that any new founder who is coming from a large technology company should be ready for when they start their own venture as a startup?
Again, a very amazing question. So I'll tell you how my journey started, and then I think I'll touch upon the lessons learned.
Sure.
So for me, after my initial stint in a larger company, I had this desire to really do something and move faster. Like, even we were moving very fast, given we are a large company. I'm talking about Cisco when I was there. So I got an opportunity to become part of a very nice team, very early stage, and I joined them. And there were like 3 of us. I do remember my first day when I walked in. So in Cisco, I was given where I was doing well. I have large teams. I had multiple features under me, and I walked in, and there were these 3 guys. There was a room at the back. You go at the back of a building, a rented room that we had. And at the back, there was some kitchen area where you can make your own coffee. You can clean your own desk and connect your own Ethernet cable, like, or Wi-Fi setup, right? So if you are IT, you are everything, right? That to me initially was like a shock, right? I mean, I won't hide it. I was like, what's going on? Because I'm used to have such a support around it, like especially in a well-organized. Cisco have been an amazing organization when I was there, and so it was just a shock. And then it took a while to get over it and then go deep into it. And I remember sitting in a meeting, and we went over the whole architecture, and we were thinking that 5 of us will build the whole product, right? And I was thinking, I had a team of like 40, and we were doing 3 features. I was like, how can 5 people build this product? And then we built it. I mean, we built it in 8 months, right? So my point is that what startup teaches you is to move at the speed of light, iterate, and be ambitious, and think big. You can do a lot with very limited resources, kind of, right? And I think the key is that there are no barriers. There's no legacy systems or legacy code or legacy infrastructure that can hold you back. So you can really move at maybe 200 miles an hour, like with a smaller scooter. I keep giving those examples. But so that was the amazing thing. But I will say startup is also a continuum. Where you come in the journey and what your role is very important. So I've been fortunate enough that I was always in C-level roles, but the first startup I was in three guys, and we grew to 70 over a period of 2.5 years, and we got acquired. In other startups, I came at post Series A, right? And in the second one, it was struggling. What happened was the perception. The second learning was just if you get a lot of money from investors and you can hire a lot of people, that does not mean you can build and launch successful products, because the team you hire is very important. The culture you build is very important. And a lot of people have this fallacy that I can hire 50 people and I'll get 50x the productivity. That's not true. You need to be able to hire good people, and which I'll touch upon, which is one of my very important rule in life that I've been following. And second one is whatever culture you're building, whether you're 5 people, then you go to 50, then you go to 500, you have to maintain them. You have to make sure that that culture is permeated down, because at some point there will be many levels under you. Initially, you are doing everything, or your co-founders are doing everything. But like 2 years, 3 years down the road, if you are successful, there will be multiple layers under you. And if you're not building that chemistry and culture, the people under you will not be able to percolate that culture down. And that means your organization culture will change, right? So in my mind, number one, making sure where you're coming in. Number two, what's the most important role? If you're a leader, your most important role is to lead, and lead by example, lead by vision, and lead by hiring smarter people than you. I used to spend, I'm not kidding, in Sleep Number, there was a period of time that we grew exponentially. I was spending almost like 30 hours like after work to interviewing candidates, because I need to know that the people that we are doing are high quality. That's something I never compromise, right? And I had a manager that gave me one lesson. The most important thing you do is the people. The most important investment you do is the people you hire, the team you build. If you can get the right team in place, magic can happen. And that's where people shortcut. They say, I'm scaling, I'm hiring 50 people, even 20 are good, doesn't matter. No, every person has to be a high quality superstar, because then they will bring superstars, and then more superstars will come. It's a chain reaction. So there are different learnings to your question. I think you have to know where you are coming in the life cycle of a startup, what should be your priority, and what your role is. If you are an individual contributor, is a different role. If you are a leader, it's a different role. So
Let's talk about TechCon Global. What is TechCon Global? Why did you get into it? What is the purpose? How you are helping the startup founder? I see 3 upcoming events, and we will go in each of those events and we'll talk about it. But prior to that, tell us, what is TechCon Global?
Yeah, I think great question. So if you look at the history, right, I've been attending, speaking at conferences for a very long time, and I used to have a wall. I think I've thrown away, but I used to have all the badges from every event that I attended or spoke. And one thing I noticed was either the events. So there was always something that I felt was missing. So number one, either the event was, larger shows, industrial shows where you have thousands and tens and thousands of people. I felt like I didn't connect with people at a deeper level, right? And one of the key things for me is when I go to a conference, I just want 3 things from there. I want to meet great people, connect with them. I want to learn from great people, and I want to be inspired by great people, like their stories or their achievement that can inspire and motivate me to do better, right? Those are the 3 things, and that's how I measure every event I go to. So when I went to so many conferences, I noticed either they do, and then the ones that I really felt that they are meeting some of these criteria were those private, very special events that you're lucky to be invited to, where you're sitting with really amazing leaders and connecting with them and kind of learning from them. But they were not open to the public, or they were not open to the broader audience. And then the third category I felt was like the conferences have become too expensive, right? There are conferences where their tickets are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $7,000. And what it means is that they are not inclusive anymore. They are kind of segmenting based on affordability, I think. So those were some of the gaps I saw. I looked around, I couldn't find something. So the entrepreneur and said, let me start something, which I've never done before, right? I mean, like, I used to be a very introverted guy, just do my work and come home. And so for that, I had to push myself. And that's also one of the lessons from entrepreneurship. I think you were asking me earlier. Everyone has a comfort zone around them. They feel that this is my domain. This is where I feel safe, if I feel comfortable. And great people, or if you want to do something great, you have to push yourself out of that comfort zone. You have to go in an area
Right.
that you don't feel comfortable. And that gives you that hopefully learnings and the drive to do something different. So TechCon, I think that's how it started. So I kind of took a challenge. I said, and I had a great network, right? I've been working with great investors. I've been fortunate enough that many of the great individuals that I went to school with are very successful. They have great networks. So I felt like, can I do something about it? So that's how it started. To build something that can be an inclusive conference. And what we did was we also wanted to make sure that we host in regions that have great up and coming ecosystem, right? So the first natural thing was that it has a budding entrepreneurial ecosystem, have good schools, and a place where people will be willing to come. And then also we want to make sure that the kind of speakers we bring are satisfying those three things that I mentioned, that people feel inspired from them, they learn from them, and they should be accessible so that you can connect and do it. In my mind, I think if you can get 5 deeper relationships, like connections, I think that's better than throwing your business card around to hundreds of people, very transactional, right? And I've seen that firsthand. They're being in different companies, and you are the lot of vendors are running after you. Like I remember last few years, there were vendors that are just finding me all over the place because I had a large budget to manage. But those are just transactionals, right? So, but like look at you and me, like we've known for 8 or 10 years, and right. So the relationships take effort, and it has to be without any. I didn't meet you just so that you'll do my podcast, right? 8 years ago, because you are a great person. I said, okay, let's common goals, common thing, and then you find common things to do, right? That's how the relationship works, right? So that's what I think our goal, the whole premise of TechCon is to make a conference that open to everyone, bring great people together so that they can connect and hopefully create more goodness for the ecosystem.
So now let's talk about angel investing. You are also an angel investor. You have invested in startup founders. Give me some pointers when you are evaluating a startup. How quickly do you make that determination that, yes, this is a good startup, let's take it forward with due diligence, deep dive, negotiations. But I feel so many people come and pitch to you. How quickly, what is that spark that you see in that founder or the founding team, which tells you, let's take the next step, let's talk to them more?
Typically, there are 3 dimensions. I always like simple things, model 3 things, 5 things, right? Then it's easy to comprehend and easy to kind of implement. If you have too complicated models, then those don't normally work. So for 3 things that I look at is the problem that the company is trying to solve, the team, and the market. And that's pretty much it, right? I think, and all 3 have to have their credits, or I'll say kind of importance in the weighted average of you do, right? What you do, right? So those are the important things. And then I think I was at a conference and I heard this great, one of the Shark Tank guys mentioned that why this, why me, why now, right? So what you're trying to do is the same thing. Why this means why this is the right problem to solve or the right product, why this is the right team, and why now. Timing is also important. I've seen companies that are ahead or lagging. Both cases not a good sign. Like if you are way ahead of the market and you can be the best company and the best technology, but you are like a decade before, like Web versus Amazon Prime, right? So I mean there were other problems. I mean I'm not going to that, but I mean the market was not there. So no matter what you do, how much money you throw in, it will not work. So I think those are the AI, for example. Like if you go back 2015 AI, now AI, there are these headwinds and all that you have to look at. So the key point is that you have to break it down into simple. And then to your question about how fast, I take my time. So I do 2 kinds of investing, right? I do through a group, like angel groups. I'm part of 3 or 4 angel groups. So they're collective wisdom. I'm count on the collective wisdom of everyone. But when I'm doing a lot more like personal, then I take my time. And I think one fallacy that I've seen from entrepreneurs is that they are very transactional, right? I mean, they are trying to raise money, they'll say on their pitch. And if you feel that you are not writing a check right there, they ease off. This guy is not, or this investor is not there, which is the wrong approach. I think what you need to do is you need to be able to, first of all, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to start building relationships, even if you're not raising or you don't need them anymore. Relationships are not transactional. You have to be able to just have conversations, just get some advice, get some opinion, like soft way of connecting. And then what happens is that even if you reach out to an investor and that's not very excited or willing to jump right on it, doesn't mean that it won't be it might be your stage is not ready. You might come back later, like when you're a little bit more traction. So always make sure that you think in the long term. Don't think transactional, think strategic when you're dealing with investors. And what I think I will recommend to entrepreneurs is that start knowing. And then the worst thing that can happen is that people come and say, well, yeah, what do you do and where do you invest? And to me, that means that you don't even spend 5 minutes on ChatGPT or Google to find out. Like, everybody is online right now. I can just get the whole persona of any person in 2 minutes, right? What they do, what their methodology is, where they invest, what they have done previously, everything, but anything public, right? I mean, you will get most of the information. That investment you have to do, right? I mean, and a lot of these entrepreneurs, I've noticed that they wait for my meeting for 2 months and then say, yeah, what areas do you invest in, or what do you do? And so those things that turn you off immediately, that you have to do homework. Just like when we were kids, we used to like come home and our parents used to say, do your homework for next day, right? When you do any meeting, do your homework on the person and all. And I think you'll be amazed in this day and age. Everything you can find everything about a person very easily. So I will say this, you have to do that investments on kind of whoever, I'm not talking about investors, like, and even personally, So, but yeah, I think I will say also the valuation, right? So even if everything is correct and they say, oh, I'm asking for this much pre-money and it's not the range you feel comfortable as an investor, you will not invest, right? So there are many dimensions to look at it. So you have to first tick mark those 3 things, and then you say what is the ask, what is the valuation, what is the trajectory of forecast that they've shown, and then make a decision. So I take my time. I mean, I get excited, but I will not like write a check like right.
Let's talk a little more about valuation. It is one thing you see at a very high end of a spectrum that the founders feel that without much traction, without even a solid product which is out there for a couple of months, it starts at about $10 million here in Southern California. What do you think of that? How does the company should look at valuation? What type of research they should do? Obviously, there are 4 or 5 valuation methods which are out there. So for a seasoned founder, they will go and find it. But many a times, I feel that they are dependent upon their advisor if they have one. If there is no advisor, then they go and talk to their CPA and come up with a valuation metric. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think valuation is an art, more art than a science right now. I mean, you can use if you're a public company, use discounted cash flow, and you can use those models. But it's an art right now. And I think because you are kind of projecting something in the future that doesn't exist. You're valuing something with not what it is right now. I mean, technically it is right now, but technically you're forecasting what it can become. So that part is the art part. The second part is always a lot of investors, entrepreneurs think that raising money is the end goal. Raising money is not the end goal. The end goal is creating value for your customers, creating value for your investors, and then creating some kind of exit for your employees and yourself, right? Either through IPO or through acquisition. That's the end goal. But raising humongous rounds at ginormous valuation can be a negative thing also. I will say do the analysis, like you were saying, look at the comps out there, look at similar spaces. But in my mind, valuation is an art. It's based on many factors, and there's no right or wrong answer. But make always the right choices in terms of valuation, because high valuations can really make difficult but then you can have a down round, and then you can have to really wash out all the previous investors if something bad happened. All your forecast or your projections don't materialize, or the market shifts. So there are many variables. So I will say the normal AI is a different world. So I'm not even going there. The AI valuation is a new world that's been created in the last 3 years in terms of how it's being valued. But rest of the normal startups, that where I'll say 95% of the companies fall into that bucket, they should be very prudent in terms of, and also what money you are getting, right? And like the key is that I will go for intelligent money than dumb money. What I mean is that if the investor has connections, if I'm selling to enterprises and the investor has deep connections in enterprise and can open 5 doors for me, that's a much valuable investment than just a wire in the bank. So definitely there are many great books written on it. I will highly encourage entrepreneurs to read those, but make sure that and always keep an eye on the end goal. A lot of people get excited about huge rounds that they have raised, but then that's the step number one. You have to build the product, sell the product, and then make money.
Yeah. Okay, one or two quick answer type of questions I'm going to ask you, Faisal. The first one is one leadership habit that the founder should build early. What is that?
Yeah. I think so. It will be what I will say. There are many, but I think the one that stands out is the delegation. What happens is that if you are a really smart founder, you feel that you have to do everything, and that's okay when you're very early. But the only way you will scale is that you build amazing people around you, a team around you that can take you to the next level and be able to delegate and hold them accountable, right? Delegation doesn't mean that I don't care. Delegation means that you empower them, give them and then hold them accountable for what they need. A lot of founders have that challenge in both ways. Either they don't, or they do and they forget about it, right? So for example, sales, you hire a VP of sales or CRO. Technically, sales job is still the CEO or founder's responsibility. I mean, like he has to make sure. So it doesn't mean that he just says, okay, now I'll get a report from a CRO, and he has to be monitoring. He has to be right KPIs, right metrics, right accountability for that person. But empowering and delegation is one area where founders, really smart, great guys or gals, they have a challenge.
Yeah. And one of the early answers that you gave to one of my questions is to hire smart people in your team. They should be smarter than the founders. But certainly complementary skill and all, which I feel is very, very important for any kind of a company to be successful, leave alone the startup founder.
And that recognition is important, Chaman, right? Like that you don't know everything. You might be great technologist, but you don't know sales. If you're sales, you might not know the infrastructure so you are smart. There are areas where people are smarter than you exist, and you should use them and be part of them, bring them